Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, with another lectures in series on microeconomics. Today we would be talking on equilibrium of a firm in the first half, whereas in the second half we would be discussing on price determination under perfect competition. And for this very discussion we have once again with us in our studios Dr. Kamlesh Ghakkar. Dr. Kamlesh Ghakkar is a professor in Institute of Management Studies and Research, Maharishi Dayananda University, Rohtak. We would like to tell you all that Dr. Ghakkar has immense experience. She has been teaching since 36 years. She has authored a book on foreign direct investment in India, and she has almost 40 publications to her credit. Lots of students are doing their PhD under her able guidance. So dear friends, let's take advantages from her experiences and try to understand today's topics, that is equilibrium of a firm and price determination under perfect competition. So without wasting any time, I would like to welcome our guest, Dr. Kamlesh Ghakkar. Dr. Ghakkar, welcome to the lecture.
Thank you, Geetika. Dear viewers, today we are going to discuss about equilibrium of a firm. A firm is said to be in equilibrium when it has no tendency to increase or decrease its output. So a firm having the goal of profit maximization will be at equilibrium when the profit is maximum or the losses are minimum. And if it changes the output, profits will decrease or the losses will rise. So we have to see how this equilibrium point is achieved by a firm irrespective of what is the type of market. So there are two methods of finding out the equilibrium of a firm. One is the total revenue and total cost method, and the second is marginal revenue and marginal cost method. So firstly, we will discuss what is the total revenue and total cost approach. Total revenue is the total amount of money received from the sale of a given quantity of the good. For example, if a firm sells n units of a commodity, the total amount of money obtained in return is the total revenue of n units of the good, and total expenditure incurred in the production of n units of good must be termed total cost. So a firm will go on producing more if its profits are thereby increasing. It will fix its output at the level where it is making maximum money profits. The profit is the difference between total revenue and total cost. So profits will be maximum when the difference between total revenue and total cost is highest. So we will show this now in the diagram also, and we can see in this figure 1, on x-axis we have taken the output, on y-axis we have taken total revenue. So in the short run, TR is firstly rising, then it is becoming maximum, and then it is falling. And total cost curve is originating from y-axis, so it goes on increasing. So we have total cost and total revenue. You see they are intersecting at point R and at point S. The point R where TR is equal to TC, this is known as the break even point, because here there are neither profits nor losses, and between the points from R to S there are profits, because in this part TR is greater than TC. But what is the greatest difference between TR and TC? How we can find out? So we will draw the tangents to TR and TC, and where these tangents become parallel, that is the maximum difference between TR and TC. So in this figure, OM is the output where the difference between TR and TC is maximum. So this is the maximum profit, because the tangent KT drawn on TR and tangent HG on TC are parallel to each other, and before this output OM there is less profit, and if the output is increased beyond this, then also profits fall. In this part we have shown the total profit curve also. So firstly it is negative because TC is greater than TR, and then corresponding to R at point A this becomes zero profit. After that it goes on rising and becomes maximum when the output is OM. So MN is the maximum profit, and after that it goes on declining, and when we reach at the point S which is intersected by TR and TC, again the profits are zero. So this way we get the total profit curve. So in total revenue and total cost method we don't come to know what is the price. We can find out the price only by dividing total revenue by the output sold. So what we can say that as long as the firm's output is less than OA, the firm's TC is greater than TR. Therefore the firm is incurring losses. When the firm's output exceeds OA, its losses are wiped out and it earns profits, and at OM level of output its profits are the highest. This is clear from TP curve shown in figure 1. So if the firm decides to expand its output beyond OM, its total profit falls. Therefore the firm is in equilibrium when it is producing OM units of output. Now we will talk about what is the break-even chart. The level of output where a firm avoids making losses but does not begin making profits is called a break-even point. Table 1 shows the break-even point of a firm on the basis of hypothetical data. So we have shown the hypothetical break-even table here. In the first column we have taken the units of output. They are rising from 0 to 20, 40, 60, 80 and 100 units. TC is shown in the second column. At 0 it is rupees 30,000, then it is rising by 10,000 every time, 40, 50, 60, 70 and 80,000. Total revenue is 0 at 0 units of output. At 20 units of output it is 20,000. At 40 units of output it is 40,000, and then 60, 80 and 1 lakh is the total revenue with the increase in the output. And total profit and total loss is found out by total revenue minus total cost. So at 0 output there are losses of 30,000 because here TC is there but no TR is there. When output is 20 units, then the total profits fall, but loss is there still, but it has come down with from 30,000 to 20,000. When the output is 40 units, loss has further decreased to 10,000. So it is only up to 60 units that there is no profit and no loss, and when we are producing 60 units, the total revenue and total cost become equal to each other, that is 60,000. That is the break-even point. So this shows that the firm must produce 60 units of output, otherwise it will be incurring losses. And when the output rises to 80 units, 100 units, then the firm is having profits of rupees 10,000 and 20,000. So after the break-even point, profits will go on increasing, but at this point no profit, no loss, and this can be shown in the figure 2 also. We have taken output on x-axis and total revenue and total cost on y-axis. TC line is starting from the y-axis because there is some fixed cost leading to total cost, and total revenue line is originating through the origin because at 0 output TR is 0. So these lines are cutting at point E. So before the output OM there is loss to the firm because total cost is greater than total revenue, and after E there are profits for the firm as TR is greater than TC. So E is the equilibrium point where the firm is neither having profits nor losses. Now we will see the other method of finding out the equilibrium, because it is not so easy to make use of the total revenue and total cost method, because it is difficult to find out where the vertical distance or where the distance between TR and TC will be the highest. So it is not an easy job, and price is also not explicit from the TR and TC analysis. So another approach, that is the marginal revenue and marginal cost method, which is used more in the modern day economics. So what is that? Marginal revenue and marginal cost approach is that firstly we should know what is marginal revenue and marginal cost. Marginal revenue is the addition made to total revenue by producing and selling one more unit of output, and marginal cost is the addition made to total cost by producing an additional unit of output. So marginal revenue of nth unit is equal to total revenue of n units minus total revenue of n minus 1 units, and similarly marginal cost of nth unit is equal to total cost of n units minus total cost of n minus 1 units. The firm will go on expanding its output so long as an extra unit of output adds more to the revenue than to the cost, since it will be profitable to do so. It will go on producing more and more so long as marginal revenue is greater than the marginal cost. It will stop at the point where MR becomes equal to MC. If marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, the firm will go on contracting the output till marginal revenue becomes equal to the marginal cost. So instead of comparing total revenue and total cost, a firm will compare what it gets when it increases its output by 1 unit and sells that unit, and what cost is incurred if it produces the 1 unit of output more. Then it will go on comparing these so long as marginal revenue is greater than the marginal cost. So profits of the firm will go on increasing, and they will be maximum where marginal revenue becomes equal to the marginal cost of production. And we know that at equilibrium point the profits should be maximum and firm should not change its behavior. So we will be showing this in the diagram, that if the firm increases the output or decreases the output, the profits will definitely decline or the loss will definitely increase. So this will tell us where the equilibrium of the firm is achieved. Now we are showing this in figure 3. On x-axis we are showing the output, on y-axis we are showing marginal revenue and marginal cost. Marginal revenue goes on declining and marginal cost is rising here. So E is the point where marginal cost becomes equal to the marginal revenue. So OA output is the equilibrium output, at this point there will be maximization of profits. We can show how the profits will fall if the output is increased or decreased. Supposing the output is increased from OA to OB. What do you see here? If you are producing OB units of the commodity, your marginal cost is BG per unit, while the marginal revenue is BH per unit. Cost is more than the revenue. So you can think of, if any producer finds that the cost of producing an extra unit of output is more and the revenue which he is going to get is small, he would not like to produce more. So here the total loss will be EHG, because this is the total cost of you can say of the AB units. Total cost is ABGE, while the revenue will be ABHE. So EGH triangle is the loss in profits if the firm produces more than OA. In the similar way, you can show what happens if the output is produced less. Now if output is produced less than OA, supposing OC units of the output are produced, then you see here at this point KC is the marginal revenue per unit, while cost is CT per unit. So cost is less and revenue is more. So he should not stop at this point. He can get the extra profit if he produces more than OC and reaches OA. Now you can see in the part CA units of output, cost is CATE and revenue is CAKE, EK or KE. So KTE triangle is the loss in the profits, or you can say this much profits he could have earned if he produces OA units. So thus we see that a producer will produce up to the point where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. This will give him the maximum profits. And actually, what is the profit and what is the loss? To find out this, we have to make use of average cost and average revenue also. So in figure 4, we have taken output on x-axis and cost and revenue is on y-axis. AR is a falling curve and it is also the demand curve, and MR is below it. Average cost is rising and MC is above it. Now we will see the equilibrium condition is MC is equal to MR. So where marginal cost and marginal revenue are cutting each other, this point is E. So what is the output at this level? We draw a line vertical on x-axis, it touches the x-axis at M. So OM is the output produced, and we will see what is the average revenue at this output. Now take this line up to point Q where it is touching AR. So MQ is the average revenue, or this is also equal to the price OP, because price is equal to AR. So AR is either OP or MQ, and your average cost is MS. Now you can see what is the difference between average revenue and average cost. This is QS, per unit of profit is there, because AR is greater, AC is less. So this is the profit per unit. Total output produced is OM. So total profits are OM into PR, or you can say this is equal to PRSQ. So this rectangle PQSR or PRSQ is the supernormal profits which are accruing to the firm. So this is the first condition, that marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. Now we will see what is the other condition. There is a second order condition which must also be fulfilled if the firm is to be in stable equilibrium. Equality between MR and MC is a necessary but not a sufficient condition of the firm's equilibrium. The second order condition for a firm's equilibrium is that MC must cut MR from below. Now here we have shown in the diagram figure 5, AR is equal to MR is a straight line parallel to x-axis, and marginal cost is U shape. It is cutting MR at 2 points E and E1. Now E is not the equilibrium point. No doubt MC and MR are equal to each other, but here MC is cutting MR from above. So OM output is not the equilibrium output, because after this, if we go on increasing the output, we find that AR is greater. AR still we can have profits. So that is why E1 is the equilibrium point where MC is cutting it from below, because after this point MC is rising and MC is more than MR. So thus we have two conditions. One is marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue, and the second is that marginal cost must cut MR from below. We have shown in figure 6 that here MC line is cutting MR from above. MC line is falling or MC curve is falling, MR is also decreasing, and they are cutting each other at F. So the first condition is again fulfilled. Marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue at point F. But what do you see here? That marginal cost is cutting it from above, and after the point F it goes on declining. So in this case MR is more than MC at all units of output. So here we will not come to know about the equilibrium output. This will be indeterminate because MC is continuously falling and MR is above it. In figure 7 we have shown marginal cost is falling, marginal revenue is also falling, and they are intersecting at E. But in this case what do you find? That MC is cutting MR from above. After the equilibrium E, if you increase the output, marginal cost will be greater than the marginal revenue, and there will be loss to the firm, and it will not stop before E, because here marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, so it can have more profit. So E is the only equilibrium point. Thus we have proved here that two conditions must be fulfilled for the marginal revenue and marginal cost approach to determine the equilibrium point, and they are: marginal cost is equal to the marginal revenue, and second is that marginal cost is cutting MR from below at the point of equilibrium. Otherwise the equilibrium will not be stable. So in this lecture we have seen that we have two methods, total revenue and total cost method, and marginal revenue and marginal cost method, to take decision regarding what should be the output produced by the firm. So this study or this knowledge is of great help to the managers in deciding about what should be the level of output they should produce. Thank you. Dear students, in this lecture we are going to discuss about how the price is determined under perfect competition. So, we should know what is a perfectly competitive market. This is a market in which there are a large number of buyers and large number of sellers. There is homogeneous product, there is free entry and exit of the firms. Buyers and sellers have the perfect knowledge of the market conditions. So, in this market, neither the buyer nor the seller has any control over the price of the commodity. Here, price is mainly determined by demand and supply in the industry. We know demand curve is downward sloping. Law of demand tells us that as the price falls, demand rises and vice versa. Buyers are willing to pay the lowest price and sellers are willing to charge the highest price. Supply curve is upward sloping, that shows the positive relationship between price and quantity supplied, that as the price rises, supply also rises. So, actually the price will be determined at the point where the buyers and sellers agree at a definite price. So, this can be shown in the diagram. In figure 1, on x-axis we have taken demand and supply, on y-axis we have taken price. DD is the downward sloping demand curve, while SS is the upward sloping supply curve. Now, they intersect at point E. So, E is the equilibrium point, OP is the equilibrium price at which demand is equal to the supply, that is OM. If we increase the price or if the sellers want to increase the price, then what would happen? Supply would be more than the demand, or excess supply will be there, and that would lead to fall in the price OP. And if price is kept lower than OP, then demand will rise more and due to excess demand, price will increase and will again be up to OP. So OP is the stable price. All other prices will be unstable because there will be mismatch between demand and supply. Now this price actually becomes average revenue and is equal to the marginal revenue also in under case of perfect competition, because each firm can sell any amount of output at this price. So actually this OP price will become AR is equal to MR. So price is not to be determined by the firm. Firm is only a price taker. Now we will see what is the importance of time element in the theory of price. Marshall, who explained that price is determined by both demand and supply, also gave importance to the time element in the determination of price. Marshall divided time into the following three periods on the basis of response of supply to a given and permanent change in demand. Number one is the market period. Now what is market period? Market period is a very short period in which supply is fixed. Actually supply cannot be increased. It can only be up to the stock available in the market. New supply or new production cannot be done. This time period may be a day, may be a week or a few months, depending upon the nature of the product. If we talk about vegetables or fish in the market, their supply is fixed in one day, or that will be a market period. In this market period, how the price will be determined, we will see firstly price determination of a perishable commodity in the market period. In case of the perishable commodity, what would happen? This supply is completely fixed, just as it is OM. So here market period supply curve is parallel to y-axis. This supply cannot be increased or decreased. And we will see where the demand is intersecting this supply curve. First demand curve is DD and it is intersecting market period supply curve at E. So OP is the initial price. Now if the demand rises and the demand curve shifts to D1, then the new equilibrium is at E1, where the now price has increased from OP to OP1. So in the market period, because supply cannot be increased at all, so price will rise if the demand rises, and similarly price will fall if the demand falls. You can see an example of vegetables sold in the market. You see that in the evening vegetables are sold at lower rates. Why? Because the seller knows the next day vegetable will be completely soiled and he would not be able to sell that. So that is why the price depends upon the demand only. And during the days of festivals, you know that demand for fruits, demand for sweets increases, but the supply cannot be increased that day, so you find the prices are higher. So in that case, it is the mainly demand which determines the price, because supply remains fixed. It cannot be increased at all. Now we will also see the price determination of a durable commodity in the market period. Now durable commodity is that commodity which is not going to perish within short time, that will remain for a longer period, just like wheat, rice or clothes or other durable commodities are there. And in that case price cannot be zero. while price could be 0 in case of the perishable goods if there was no demand. But in case of durable goods, there must be some minimum price which the seller must get, because he knows that the commodity is not going to perish. He can store it for some time. So there is a price OR as shown in figure 3. Below this there is no supply, or below this seller is not going to sell any unit of the output. Here the supply curve is RS. What do you see here? It is firstly increasing, and when it reaches at the point E1, it becomes parallel to Y axis. So what does this tell? As the demand will go on rising up to this point E1, what is happening? That prices will also increase and supply is also increasing. Actually, it will naturally, mainly it can be up to the stock. So firstly it is less than the stock, and when the price has reached OP, then the seller is willing to sell all the units of the commodity which are available in the stock. Now after this, supply cannot be increased at all. So after this point E1 or after this price OP, if the demand further goes on increasing just as D2 in the figure, then the equilibrium is at E2 and price is OP1. So price will go on increasing if the demand goes on rising. So how this OR price is determined? It will be low or it will be high. It depends upon many factors. If the seller is in need of cash, he will keep the price low. If the demand for the commodity is expected to fall, then also he will keep the price low. If the cost of storing the commodity is very high, then he will keep the price low. But if he knows that demand for the commodity is going to rise in future, he will keep the price high, and if the cost of storage is low, then also he can keep the price high. And if he is not in need of cash, then also he will keep the price high. So in this case, we have shown how the price of a durable commodity is determined in the market period. Now we'll come to the short period. Naturally, short period is longer as compared to the market period. We have talked of it many times earlier also. And what is the short period? In which some factors are fixed, but at least one factor is variable, and we can increase the supply to a limited extent by making use of the variable factor. Supposing demand for shirts increases, so the owner of the factory can increase the production by applying more labor on the same machines. So supply can be increased to some extent. So in this case, short period supply curve will be upward rising. You can see this in figure 4. Market period supply curve is parallel to Y axis because supply is fixed up to OM, but the short period supply curve is upward rising. And now we'll see where the price is determined. So DD is cutting marginal market period supply curve and short period supply curve at point E. So equilibrium quantity demanded and supplied is OM and price is OP. Now if the price rises, if the demand rises, then demand curve will shift to D1 as shown in the figure, and we will see where it is intersecting the market period supply curve and short period supply curve. In the market period, equilibrium is at EM, where the price has increased to OPM because supply is fixed. But in the short period, equilibrium is at ES, where the supply has increased from OM to OM1 and the price is OPS. No doubt it is more than OP, but it is less than the market period price. So in the short period, with the rise in demand, price will also increase because supply is not increasing in the same proportion as the demand has increased. Now we'll talk of long period. Long period is that period in which all the factors of production are variable. No factor is fixed. What does this imply? This implies that production can be increased up to any extent. New factories can be opened, new plants can be constructed, new machinery can be bought. So there is no restriction on increase in the supply. But in the long period, we will have three types of industries, that will be increasing cost industry, decreasing cost industry and constant cost industry. And accordingly, the supply curve will be different in these markets. Now we are talking of firstly increasing cost industry. So what does the meaning of increasing cost industry? In this industry, as the production is increased, as the scale of operation is increased by a firm, then naturally there will be economies and diseconomies of scale. But in this case of increasing cost industry, there are more diseconomies of scale. Diseconomies of scale means per unit cost of production goes on increasing because of the managerial difficulties or technical problems or efficiency problems or non-availability of raw material and factors of production. Cost per unit goes on increasing. So in this case, we will have the long run supply curve is increasing as is shown in figure 5, but it is more elastic as compared to the short period supply curve. Now look at the figure 5. Here on x-axis we have shown demand and supply, on y-axis we have shown the price of the commodity. Market period supply curve is a line parallel to y-axis showing that quantity remains fixed. OM is the supply, whatever may be the price. SPSC is the short period supply curve and LPSC is the long period supply curve. Firstly, we have shown that initial demand curve DD is intersecting all these supply curves at point E. Now we have to see what happens if the demand increases in the economy for this commodity. Whenever there is increase in demand, which is not due to price, which is due to the other factors like increase in income or change in fashion or increase in population, we find that demand curve shifts to the right and it becomes D1, D1. Now what happens in the market period? Equilibrium is at EM, where the price has increased from OP to OPM. This is the highest increase. Whenever demand rises in the market period, price will rise because quantity supplied is fixed. It is AOM. In the short period, the equilibrium is at ES. Here, the supply has increased from OM to OM1, by making use of the variable factor, and price is OPS. It is greater than the OP, but it is less than the market period price OPM. And long period supply curve is cutting this demand curve at EL. So EL is the equilibrium point. Here you find that supply has increased up to OM2 and price has also increased from OP to OPL. But this increase in price is the lowest as compared to the market period price or short period price. So you see here that in increasing cost industry, as the demand for the commodity rises, even in the long run there will be increase in the prices. Just as you see the prices of automobiles, or you can say cars, scooters, they are increasing. The demand is rising, supply has also been increased, but due to increase in the cost of production, their prices too have increased. Now we will talk of decreasing cost industry. So in decreasing cost industry, as the production is increased by the firms or the scale of operation is increased in the firm as well as in the industry, there are internal and external economies of scale. There are savings in the cost of production per unit. There are various economies like production economies, technical economies, managerial economies, economies of specialization, economies of transport and storage, and external economies of concentration, decentralization, etc. So this leads to fall in the cost per unit of output. So that is why in this case long run supply curve is downward sloping. So you can see this in figure 6. Market period supply curve is parallel to y-axis, showing the quantity to be fixed at OM. Short run supply curve is upward sloping and long run supply curve is downward sloping, that the seller is willing to increase the supply even at low prices. Why? Because the cost has reduced. Cost is reduced too much, so even at a low price he is getting profits. So now we will see where the equilibrium takes place. In the market, as the demand rises due to various factors other than price, this demand curve shifts to D1, and the new equilibrium in the market period is at EM, where the price has increased to OPM because supply is constant at OM. And in the short period, this equilibrium is at ES. Here supply has increased from OM to OM1 and the price has increased from OP to OPS. So you see that in the market period as well as in the short period, prices have increased. No doubt increase in the price is more in case of market period. But what happens in the long period? What do you see here? Here you find that the equilibrium is at EL. Here the supply has increased from OM to OM2 and the price is OPL, and clearly it is lower than the previous price OP. So what do you find here? That in case of decreasing cost industry, price falls due to rise in demand in the long run because of the decreasing cost. You may have seen that in the beginning mobile phones were so costly or even the calls were so costly, but today demand has increased to such a large extent and even the supply has been increased and we are paying less prices for them because of the now decreasing cost industry conditions. Still, these companies are having profits. No doubt they are charging less price as compared to what it was earlier. And the third type of the industry is long run constant cost industry. So just as the name suggests, in this case, cost per unit will remain the same. Why? Because as the production is increased, as the scale of operation is increased in the firm as well as in the industries, economies and diseconomies of scale appear and actually they balance each other. Economies become equal to the diseconomies. So neither there is a saving nor there is any increase in the cost of production and per unit cost remains same. So here the long run period supply curve is parallel to x-axis as is shown in figure 7. So LPSC is a straight line parallel to x-axis and market period supply curve is like the same, it is parallel to y-axis and short period supply curve is upward rising. Initial equilibrium is at E where the previous demand curve DD and all these supply curves intersect at E. So OP is the first price. But when demand rises and the curve shifts to D1, we get the new equilibrium points. In the market period, again, equilibrium is at EM, showing same equilibrium quantity OM and price has increased to OPM. In the short period, equilibrium quantity has increased from OM to OM1 and price has also increased to OPS. But in the long period, what do you see? That equilibrium is at EL, supply has increased from OM to OM2, but price is same. So in this case, price remains constant. It is OP. There is no change. So thus we have seen that in the long run, there are different shapes of the long run supply curve depending upon whether it is increasing cost, decreasing cost or constant cost in industry, and accordingly the price will be determined. Now another thing which we should know, that is difference between market price and normal price. Price determined in the market period is called market price, while price determined in the long period is called normal price. Market price is actually the real price because that is the price we pay. Whenever we go to buy a thing in the market, we have to pay the market price. So market price is the original price or real price, while the normal price is just an imaginary price. And we have seen that market price is mainly influenced by demand. If the demand rises, price rises. If the demand falls, price also falls. But in case of the normal price, it is the supply which is going to have more influence on the price. We have seen that supply is having an important role in long run because again it depends upon increasing, decreasing or constant cost industry. And one thing more is there, that we can see that at the normal price there will always be normal profits or it will always be covering normal profits. But in the market period price, it can be such that which can give supernormal profits to the firm or even losses to the firm. So this was about how price is determined under perfect competition. Thank you, students.
With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much for giving us a very, very productive session. And dear friends, we believe that all the lectures pertaining to the series Microeconomics are very, very beneficial for you. And for you, we have uploaded all the lectures on YouTube so that it becomes easier for you to get in-depth knowledge on the lectures as well as to get in-depth knowledge on the topics for your easy accessibility and to increase the frequency of your accessibility. The lectures are there. And this lecture is also going to be uploaded on YouTube very soon. Dear friends, if you have any kind of a query, suggestion or a feedback which you would like to share with us, then you can mail us at info.cec@nic.in, and we would be meeting again very soon with Dr. Kamlesh Gakkar once again and would be discussing on another topic under the series Microeconomics. With this note, I would like to thank Dr. Kamlesh Gakkar for giving us precious inputs, and as I said, we would be meeting again. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much.